Uncuffed. I'm Brian. On this podcast, we'll talk about law enforcement, social media, social networking, and just life. And to answer any questions you may have, you remember last week's podcast, I had to kind of bail out of here a little early. Some thunderstorms blew up and got out. They blew through. They weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. And then like 4 days later, let's see, was it 4 days? It was about 5 or 6 days later. They were predicting some storms to come through. And in a day and a half, we got 6.2 inches of rain, which I'm not griping. I don't think any of the farmers around here are griping because we are in a bit of a drought, or we were in a bit of a drought. I don't think we are now. There were places having water issues because that much water coming down that quick fills up roads, fills up ponds, and you really run into a lot of issues. You'd actually prefer to get that much rain over a couple of weeks, but you know, you take what you can get when you're wanting rain. You're just happy to have it. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of news. You know, a big deal that's really getting blown up this year is voting by mail. I'm not a super political guy. I don't get deep into politics, but I saw the greatest quote or a greatest little post, I guess, on Facebook. And it was one of my friends I went to school with. He said, so you feel good about voting by mail? You feel good about that? I tell you what. Take 5 $100 bills, cash, go somewhere else and mail them to yourself. You feel comfortable doing that? And I want you to sit there and think about it. Would you feel comfortable taking 500 of your hard-earned dollars, putting them in an envelope and mailing them to yourself, knowing for certain they're going to get there to you? It makes you think. So, of course, the virus, protest, still running strong, hot and heavy. And I don't know what the breaking point is on the protest. I don't know at what point they finally decide, okay, enough of this. Let's just try some actual dialogue instead of tearing up everything. I don't know what it's going to take to get to that point now. I just feel like if most of these groups would let cooler heads prevail and sit down and get a true dialogue going, instead of just making this such a media frenzy, because that's all it is. And there's the biggest problem, is the media is pushing it so hard. They love covering all this stuff, all this chaos. I mean, it makes for good ratings for them. It's good news. So that to me is the biggest issue right now with most of this stuff. And even the virus is the same way. I feel like media is making a bigger to-do about it than what actually needs to be done. Do I think it's a real threat? Yes. I think there's a real problem here, absolutely. Now, is it blown way out of proportion in many situations? Yes. Just because general media as a whole will not drop it and just let it quiet down, let it ease up. I mean, I don't want it to go away, but that is all they're harping on right now. And so they're making this thing so big that it's all that the news is about. It's just engulfed it. Okay, and so on that topic, I read a little article that one doctor is recommending that we wear a mask while having sex. You are in intimate contact with your wife, loved one, and you're thinking the mask is the problem here? I mean, come on. I don't know. I just find some of this so laughable. So, if you're thinking we need it for sex, should we be wearing it all the time in the house, in the car with each other, even though we live in the same house? Do I need to sleep with it on? Some of this is just getting drawn out and just getting crazy. I mean, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I just think some of this is just going off the handle. And like I've said before, I know the threat is real. I've got a brother in the medical field. He sees it all the time. I've had a family member that had it. And here's the confusing part. This is supposed to be this contagious. His wife stayed in the house the entire time he had it. Now, they tried to stay as far apart from each other as they could. They didn't try to get, real close. She never got it. And they're living in the same house. Still hadn't got it. He's over it. She still hadn't got it. So, I mean, that just right there alone tells me that a lot of the information that we're getting streamed to us, they still don't know. They really don't know how it transmits. And yes, y'all can call me what you want. You can call me a sheep or whatever. But go figure, I'm a rule follower. I was in law enforcement for 20 years. So if I go to Walmart and they said mask required, or any store it says mask required, well, I wear it. It's out of respect for the people. They want you to wear it, wear it. That doesn't hurt anything. I mean, you're not in there that long. I just don't understand everybody just being so apt, just standoffish and, oh, I'm not wearing a mask, I don't care what they say. Really? So you don't care about everybody else, because they're saying the whole thing with this mask is it keeps you from spreading it if you have it. Now, I have got to believe certain kind of masks help you too. I know that the N95 does, so you can't breathe it in. I'm sure the mask I wear often, it's a shot mask that has charcoal filters in it. Well, it won't let in toxic fumes, so I'm assuming it's not letting in much. Now, that thing is harder to breathe out of. And I know what you're thinking. It's not one of the ones with the great big canisters on the sides. It's got two little vent holes, but it's got a charcoal filter inside of it that I have to replace every so often. So I got to believe it helps you too, a little bit, even if that's not the main reason for you wearing it. Okay, I'll get off that mess. We hear enough of that junk anyway. So I'm going to do a little bit of law enforcement and probably jump into a little social media. So got to ask a question. Is there ever an instance where I could have seen shooting somebody in the back? Because, we've had 2 or 3 different instances where I've seen several articles of different people getting shot in the back. Well, first off, know this. I'm not going to second guess any officer's actions. Not from here. I wasn't there. If I'm right up there amongst it, or I see all the actual evidence of it, well then, yeah, I could judge it. But that latest one, the guy has a criminal history, and he was going to his car. Who knows what he's trying to dig out of there? I've actually been on a traffic stop where a guy was reaching and reaching and reaching under a seat. And I drew down on him real quick. He had loaded 9mm under his seat. That's what he's trying to grab, was his pistol. So this was going to be a gunfight. I just beat him to the draw. He just couldn't get his pistol quick enough. So again, I don't know what I'd be thinking in that situation. You've just been in a fight. They've tased him. He's got up. He's still fighting, and he's fighting to get to his car and reaching for something. You got to assume it's a weapon if you're on the law enforcement side. Now, shooting 7 times in the back, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know how big of a threat this was. So that's the biggest thing. Before everybody passes judgment, you've got to put yourself in that officer's shoes and realize that you weren't in the situation, and you really shouldn't pass judgment without all the facts. So, now that doesn't really answer the question, do I ever see an instance where you shoot somebody back? Yes, I do. There have been instances where people were running and shooting towards the back. Well, obviously, you're only going to hit them one place if they're shooting at you. It's in the back. And used to, I'm assuming it's still there, federal officers could shoot a fleeing suspect. So you're running, and just because you're running, they can shoot you to stop you. Usually what they're after, though, is some really dangerous people. So you kind of understand it's a threat to society if they don't get them stopped. But just the general stuff that you dealt with day to day, more than likely, no, you run, I'm just going to chase you. But is there an instance that could make you? Sure. There's always something that comes up that they could be doing that could cause you to shoot them that way. And I did read another article that said this year, the whole pandemic has killed more law enforcement officers than have died in the line of duty. And still, they're probably dying in the line of duty because that's probably where they're contracting it. But what has killed them is the pandemic, and not getting shot, run over, wrecks, that kind of stuff. It's leading this year, which is awful. Still, don't get me wrong, but that tells me also that kind of violence isn't as high. And I haven't seen the numbers. So if the numbers are still high for being shot and in the line of duty stuff, and then this sickness is even higher than that, that means we're doubling up here a little more, which is awful. I believe I mentioned it before. I worked for Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and I'm understanding they're just now figuring out that our state patrol's in a bind. because within the next 5 years, over half of our force will be eligible to retire. We're an older crowd. So they're figuring out, oh, this is a real problem. We're going to have to start really spitting out some big academies and getting some troopers on the road. Well, your problem there is you're not getting as big academies either. You know, you keep putting restrictions and restrictions and restrictions on all these officers, and the bad guys can do whatever they want. They play by no rules. But you have to follow all these extra rules, so it's hard to fight back. And when you do fight back, guess what? You're persecuted. They're going to come after you. They're going to sue you, or they're going to try to put criminal charges against you for doing what you were trained to do. So I just find it funny now that this organization has just figured out, oh, we're got a mess, we're an issue. Yeah, a big one. But, you know, you put yourself here. You should have been holding academies the whole time and got us way over employed. That way when this happens, you're ready. And I mean, with that said, I wouldn't want to be in any law enforcement right now, just any state, form, or fashion, simply because of the reasons I just said. I mean, you go out and you do the right thing. Buy the book, you do the right thing, and somebody ends up getting hurt. You're still going to be in trouble now. Before, they would look at it and go, well, the guy shouldn't have fought you, or he shouldn't have ran. Well, now it's not that way. It's all put on your shoulders, what the bad guy did and how he reacted and what you did. That's pretty much how it's pointing. And I'm telling you right now, that's a no-win fight. You can never guess what people are going to do in those situations. Okay, I've got a question here. Somebody was upset because they were in a pursuit and the law enforcement officer terminated it. Well, okay. That's all the information I've got on it. So there's several instances where you can terminate a pursuit. Basically, if you think it's too dangerous for the public's good, stop it. If you're going to head into a really busy area, a big town, a lot of foot traffic, yeah, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and stop it. It's not worth the risk of this guy running off the road and plowing through a crowd. Another one, and I've been in a few that have been terminated. Another big one is, you know, you're chasing bad guy and you're zipping down the road and all of a sudden you see a little head pop up. It's got a kid in the car. I have no problem with terminating it. Now then, the problem you're going to run into there, why are they running with a kid? You know, it could be kidnapping. So, I mean, that's, you got to kind of weigh that because you don't want to let the bad guy go with the kid if it's somebody that's missing. Now, I've actually found, I can think of one off the top of my head. It seems like there's 2 kidnappings, and recovered them, took the bad guys into custody. They were never that way. It was usually in the kidnappings I messed with, they tried to talk their way out of it. Oh, that's not what happened at all. Da 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 da. Well, we got a report right here that says it does. And some of them are just so off the wall crazy. When you get out there, their logic behind it, you're just, what? I don't know what you're talking about. So my whole point here is this. In that situation, you're chasing somebody and you see a kid in the car. Well, you got to weigh what could happen. I mean, because here's the deal. You're chasing upwards of 100 miles an hour and there's a kid in the car and the guy wrecks. Kid make it, kid doesn't make it, don't know. Kid may be hurt bad. But if you don't chase him and the guy gets away and murders the kid, now what? See, and that is just one of many catch-22 situations you get put in as an officer. So my advice to that would be, I just slow down, back off, try to keep them in sight, and just back off of it. That's why aircraft are so handy. You know, we had a big aircraft division, which I was part of for a couple of years, and I flew airplanes. And in those situations, you get an airplane up, they'll just follow them. All enforcement officers turn off those lights, back off, cruise at speed limit, let the bad guy go, and wherever they go to hide, airplane, helicopter can lead them right to them. And it's a shame our aircraft division has really dwindled to next to nothing. And it's all money. I mean, I understand it's money. It's an expensive troop to run because the gas alone, whew. And you put that up there and, you know, the fuel, and you got 11 airplanes. A lot of money. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had 1 month, my fuel ticket was over $4,000. So, say all 11 were that busy, $44,000 a month. That's a lot of money in fuel. And here's the other kicker. For the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, none of the money from any citations comes back to us. I think used to we got like 50 cents of every seatbelt ticket or something. But other than that, we don't get anything. All the tickets in Oklahoma written by the Highway Patrol go to the county that you stop them in. It goes through the county courthouse and it goes to that county. That money doesn't come back to the state. We are purely ran by taxes. So you can see how they really have to kind of weigh, oh, well, we better cut that because it's just costing us too much and we can't afford it. Which is a real shame because it is an invaluable tool. You can see so much from the air that you cannot see from the ground. I have picked out many illegal grows that right by the highway, been driving by it for years, never knew it was there. Get in the airplane, see it in 10 minutes. And I've led a lot of officers to some really good arrests on that kind of stuff. So we'll jump over into some social media stuff. My last 2 or 3 podcasts, have been about YouTube, trying to get you a channel going, and it's stirred up a little bit of a reaction. There are people that are really interested in doing this. They can see how it can be a side hustle down the road. The only thing I'll tell everybody is make sure it's something you enjoy. Because if you're not enjoying it, you're not really getting away from your work. But if it's something you enjoy doing anyway, put a camera on it. Then it's fun. If you're a die-hard fisherman, get a GoPro. Video all day. Whenever you get a bite, start videoing. Or just y'all talking in the boat. Just your hijinks. You'd be amazed what that kind of stuff will bring in. What kind of lures you're using. What weight line you got on. What pole you're using. Tons of opportunity there. Because I'm just going to run with that example real quick. A fishing channel. You get over there and you can, if you buy your products, let's say off Amazon, or off some big company like Bass Pro that might have an affiliate link, and you put all the rods that you're using, the reel that you're using, the line that you're using, all the bait you're using, spinners and lures and whatever you're using, hooks, each one of those things could be a little cash cow for you. Each one of those little things could make you just a little money each month when people go, man, that lure out there, he was killing them. I think I need one of those. Let's go down and figure out what it is, and they click on your link and they go over and buy 2 or 3 of them. Well, you get that done about 50 times. Now you're making some money. And these things actually do work. They actually do happen. I see a bunch of up and down with mine, and I get it. Mine has a lot to do with economy because if you're going to build a CNC machine off my other channel, and I talk about it a lot about building machines, but if that's something you really want to get into doing, you better be prepared. There's money involved in that. Most of the pieces to that thing are pretty expensive, so that's going to be what a lot of it's based off of. But something like fishing, that's just a good example. Your little fishing vest. Just think about every little thing you got to have to go fishing. Tackle boxes, all that stuff. There's a bunch of money sitting right there in affiliate marketing. And my other thing, if you play a musical instrument, man, you've lost your mind. You ought to be doing channels on it if you're really good at playing. And I sit right here and say that, and I play a little bit of guitar. Now then, I don't feel like I play it at a level that I need to be teaching people. I'm talking about these people that can sit down, read the music and play it, or they can just hear it and play it. And get on there and show how you played this song. This is how I played it, and this is how it sounds. I watch a lot of those. And I'm sure some of you do too. I watch a lot of those when I want to learn a new song. I just pull it up on YouTube. Figure out how they're playing it and go with it. That way I don't have to worry about looking up the music. I can actually read music a little bit. I'm not as good as I used to be. I haven't done it much lately. So I'm just saying, all these things are opportunities for channels. If you're a great cook or baker, video it. There are tons of those channels out there, but guess what? All the bigger ones had to start somewhere. And you may find that crowd base that likes you better than them, and so they're going to watch the way you do it instead of the way they do it. Another crazy thing that you'll learn is they'll watch you, and then they'll run over and watch this one, and then they'll run over and watch this one. And they'll watch 3 or 4 over the same thing, just seeing how everybody's doing it. Because there may be one way that they like doing it better than the other. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, just say you have strong political beliefs and you love talking about it. Get on here and do a vlog. That's basically all this is for YouTube. This is just a vlog. Because it is actually my podcast, but I'm just recording it and using 2 different social networking platforms to try to get it going 2 different ways. It's just something I've been trying for several months now. And it's working slowly but surely. And I'm assuming one day it'll get there to where one or the other or both will be making me a little bit of money. What I'm really amazed at is I haven't really found it. I hadn't looked real hard, but just the older generation that, served in, well, now most of World War II people are probably past the biggest part of them, but people who fought in Vietnam, Korea, Desert Storm, I mean, all that stuff, they could get on there and just vent and talk about everything they could talk about. I imagine those things would get covered up quickly. Just because everybody loves hearing war stories. And as long as you can talk halfway decent, you probably get a heck of a following. And just think about, you served for 4 years and you were overseas for 3. How many missions did you go on? You could break down missions into different firefights and tons of content there. All I'm trying to do here is just get your wheels turning and just give you an idea how you can set yourself on this path on a social networking journey. Because there is money out there to be had and it costs you nothing to do it. Okay, I'll take it back. It costs you a camera. You need to get a camera that videos well. Beyond that, that's it. The platform's free. I mean, and in order to make the money, all you gotta do is make the content. And just anything that is appropriate and you find interesting, you gotta know there's a whole group of people that find that stuff interesting too. I mean, there's tons of stuff on these videos that I don't like watching. I'm not a big gardener. Don't watch a lot of gardening channels. I mean, even Daniel, I talk about Arms Family Homestead. Whenever he gets in there and starts working on his garden, if I'm watching his video that day, I'm probably fast forwarding through most of that because I don't care about gardening. Just never have. It's just not something I've ever got into. But clearly there is a huge part of the population that loves it because he's well over 400,000 subs now. And I don't even know, I haven't even looked lately to see what kind of income he's making per month on socialblade.com. I've told you about it before, socialblade.com. Get on there and you can type in any channel that you like watching and it'll pull up a good approximation of what they're making per month and per day. So just give you an idea. But anyway, obviously it's working for him talking about that stuff as much as he does because his last video, he and his wife were in Florida looking at beachfront homes. He's not moving, but he's wanting a vacation property. Why not? He's making the cash to do it off YouTube. Why not use it for something like that? It's an investment because he plans on renting it too. It's a good investment. It's a good place to put the money that he's pulling off this and making something of nothing. So like I said, I mean, I'm just trying to get your wheels turning, just trying to figure out, make you think and see if you can figure out what you can do to make a side hustle like this. Everybody can use that extra coin in the pocket. And who knows, like old Daniel, maybe one day you can quit your full-time job and do this full-time. Pretty cool. So guys, that's going to be about it for this week. If y'all haven't done so yet, run over and check me out at Smokey CNC Woodworks. I do a lot of CNC woodworking. A lot of times just talking about the machine like I did for tomorrow's video. And occasionally just bounce out there and do some regular woodworking, just build something. So guys, like I said, that's going to be it this week. If y'all hadn't checked me out at SmokeyUncuffed.com. That's www.smokeyuncuffed.com. It's my website. You can see all sorts of links to stuff there. You can find all my podcasts. And you can listen to me on just about anywhere you can listen to a podcast. I'm probably there. So guys, that's it. If y'all haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And I'll see y'all and hear y'all next time.